Good morning, everybody. Hello, it's me. What is happening? I got this nice little part in the bangs. Just gonna keep that going. What is in my, there's glitter all over me? Okay. Good morning, my friends. Come on, come on, come on. Let's have a little morning chat, shall we? Let's have a little morning chitty chat. Oh no, I just closed the thing I needed. Dang it. Come in, say good day, say good morning. My voice is very crispy today. Hello, hello, hello. Oh, good morning, Jessica. Thank you. It does feel very morning-y to me. I slept in a bit today. But I was up late, so I always think it like counteracts it, which is good. That's great. I'm so glad your morning was joyful. Mine was good. I did a very long Instagram post while I was in bed, and then I had my husband and I ordered in breakfast, and I had my coffee, and then we watched The Good Fight, which was nice. And then I paid my makeup artist and paid my taxes. So that was good. Not too shabby today. It looks lovely out, and it's starting to smell like fall time. Does anybody else notice this? Good morning, Hillary. Hello, Sarah, Jenna, Shannon. Good day, my friends. Hello, hello, hello. How's everyone doing? Tell me, how's it going? I'm going to talk to you about, oh no, my cards got wrecked a little bit. It's ombre now. Actually, Jessica, I'm going to talk about it on this chat, so hang tight. Hello, Stephanie. It is 100 degrees. Oh, God. Oh. So yesterday, remember I was going to go live while Jill and I were at the beach doing our photo shoot, but the service was so shitty that we just didn't. But I went to a beach I've never been to because the one that I thought I was going to was further than I thought it was. So we just went on the map in the car, and we're like, okay, look for a beach location. And so we went to one where it's actually the nude beach in our city. Or not in our city, but in our province. So we ended up driving to the nude beach to do Jill's shoot. She did some topless stuff, but ultimately she had her clothes on. But it was funny. I am doing good and amazing. Thank you, Aaliyah. Good morning. But it was really nice to go out to the beach and just disconnect for a bit and hear the sound of waves. One of the things I've been missing a lot, obviously, is travel. I used to travel quite a lot, and I would always go somewhere where the ocean was because I love the sound of water and waves. And I was like, well, we have rivers here and we have lakes, but they're rarely are they sounds because there's no tide. It really is just the wind blowing the water up onto shore. So yesterday when we went, it was super windy, which was lovely, because then it sounded and felt like I was at the ocean again. And the sand at this beach is super soft sand, not pebbles. So it was really beautiful just to be out. And yesterday, obviously I did the coaching, and I called myself yesterday No Tolerance Terry. I felt like it was good that Jill and I went outside the city yesterday. I felt yesterday I was ready to pop off on anyone, you know what I mean? When you feel that like everything was annoying me yesterday. And it was just and part of that was waking up, looking at my phone and seeing all the bullshit that was happening, being shared and things like that, and people not critically thinking or whatever. So it was a lot for me yesterday, and I was just, my tolerance was low, so I knew I did not want to be online. I knew I could not be online. Okay, good. I don't feel so bad. So I took myself away from the internet so I wouldn't do something. So Low Vibe Terry did not make an appearance. And it was the best thing ever I could have done. And I'm definitely going to go back to that beach. But here's what else happened. Okay, I don't know if you remember, but Jill and I had done a photo shoot at like our local monastery here, which is like a broken down church, and there was like a guy who was like came up and did tried to talk to us, but then we were like, huh, and like our body language was very like get away from us, but instead he circled but kept an eye on us, and we could see him out of the corner of our eye. Like, you know that feeling, girls, like women, you know what I'm talking about, where they come up and they make a little conversation, then they do a big circle, and then they do a smaller circle, and then they feel that it's okay to come talk to you. Like, this is what happens with solo men in these environments. And literally the exact same pattern happened yesterday at the beach. So Jill and I were shooting, and then this guy comes and he has like, oh, you look like you're doing a photo shoot. Yeah. And then we have a little bit of chit chat, but ultimately we're like, okay, we're gonna get to work now. Thanks, bye. And he does the big loop. He does a smaller loop, and he like talks to some other strangers, but is watching us while he's talking to those other strangers. And then he feels that he has been there enough. Like, it's literally, I can feel the strategy behind it is like an animal documentary. Like, as he stalks his prey, then the man will usually talk to me first. You know, they always talk to the friend because, like, I don't know if this is a subconscious thing for men. So men, if you're listening to this, feel free to let me know. But they talk to the friend first, like definitely not the one they're attracted to. And then, because I have like the vibes that are like, do not, sir. Anyways, but then hoping that it'll encourage the other person to want the girl that they actually like to talk. And like Jill and I were both like, this is not cool, sir. Like, please go away. And finally, this is why I love Jill. She's got command. She's super like, we're just going to shoot now. Okay, goodbye. And it was so good. But it made me realize that this is a fucking pattern that solo men do. Well, at least it's only happened to us solo. With the circle, like the initial talk, like, okay, that's the first boundary, I've made it through. The next one is like circling the prey to see how close you can get before something will happen. And then when nothing happens, they're like, okay, I guess it's safe. I can go in and have another conversation. And it's like, no, none of our body language said we want to talk to you. Like, nothing we were doing said that. It was so insane. So like, and like, could we enjoy what we were doing? No, because out of the corner of our eye, we kept seeing him just like creeping around and like wanting to like, oh, what are you doing? And it's not at all like actually hide in the bushes if you're going to be creepy. You know what I mean? Like, don't annoy us. So that's why I'm glad Jill has command, because as soon as she's like, leave us alone, please. And then they just walk away, which is good. They're like, okay. But it's just the strategy behind it is fascinating to watch from like when you're not in it, to see like, is this like, do they go through training for this system of like approaching people? And so like, if this ever happens to you, I want you to like pay attention to that. Like, okay, they'll do the initial talk. That's step 1. Step 2 is the wide periphery. Step 3 is the closer periphery. And then step 4 is like trying to talk to you or the friend again, and then see where it goes from there. But it's fascinating because it's like literally the exact same process every single time. Anyways, it's dumb and I hate it, but it was fascinating to watch. Like, does this work for you? You know? I don't know. Anyways, next time I told Jill to bring her partner Luke, because he's a very tiny man, but he is very, like, he has the energy field of like a titanium safe. Like, you are afraid of him, even though like he's just very domineering. So I was like, he could just sit at the beach while we're doing our thing, but he will glare at anyone and keep them away from us. So that's the plan. Anyways, that was my story I wanted to share about yesterday. And if you are alone shooting with your, like a client or a friend of yours, and that does happen, Oh, hi, Riley. Do not be afraid of speaking up and saying, we're busy, leave us alone. Because it appears to me that people don't, maybe, men don't know what boundaries are or what body language is actually saying. Like, I think they've just overridden that kind of part to be like, no, that means she wants it even more. No, it's not a fucking game, leave us alone. Literally, you have to say it. Don't worry about feeling uncomfortable. It might make you feel uncomfortable to do it, but when you're done, you'll feel very confident and strong. All right, that's my talk on that. That wasn't noted in the caption of today's live, but I just thought I would share that story because I was like, are you kidding me? Again? Come on. Anywho, so I'm not wearing pants. So that was the first part of the live, just so you would know. But I'm sure you assume by now that I just don't when I'm in this room. Number 2, lots of reschedule. So I have a pretty relaxed rescheduling, what do you call that? People can reschedule, especially with COVID right now. I'm like, you know what? No, I'm not taking any chances. If you want to reschedule, I'm not going to be a dick about it. However, people wait until literally 2 days before their shoot to be like, oh, actually, and then they don't reschedule for a month later. No, this client booked for November. I'm like, all right, well, we're going to turn off your ability to reschedule again because she was supposed to come in last November. That's how long this has been going on. Stuff like that is just driving me insane. But I want you to know that if you are experiencing lots of reschedules, maybe cancellations or things like that, that it happens to everyone. I know a lot of times people think when you're more established or things like that, that shit doesn't happen. No, it does. It happens and it sucks and you have low moments. It's not always woo. There's oh fuck, now I gotta fill my time with something else. So I want you to know that it happens to everyone. So there's that. And then that leads me into my little chat today about expectations. If you've heard me talk about this before, feel free to disengage. But obviously I talk all the time about the importance of expectations. And I did a post on Instagram today, which is why it's fresh in my mind. But one way that you can help kind of take control of your happiness, or at least in lowering your stress levels, is by managing your expectations of other people or other things or even yourself. And at first you might be like, that sounds like a terrible thing. That sounds like real low vibe thinking that I should just not have any expectations of myself or anything. And it's no, you need to have realistic expectations. And I always love to bring up John Maxwell's quote that is essentially, disappointment exists in the gap between reality and expectation. And I always say, you can want what you want, but it is what it is. And the problem with when we usually set expectations about other people, whether it be our clients, whether it be our partner, our friends, whatever it is, our expectations are set well, I wouldn't do that, so how could they do that? And then it makes us feel bad or stressed out. So it's important to understand that the only person that you should have expectations for are what is my part to play in this? And how am I going to show up? And lowering your expectations for other people. So a good example of that is before, when I would go up to the farm where my brother is, part of me is oh my God, I really hope that we have a really good weekend and there's no stress and nobody brings up anything political and we just can enjoy being together for once. So that used to be my mindset. And then I would get there and then ultimately, he's kind of an asshole, so he would say something and then I could not say something back. Well, I could, obviously. But there would be tension for whatever reason, and it usually was him that was the one instigating it. And that's when I realized, I understand that I'm going to, if I go to the farm, I need to set the expectation that I might be put in an uncomfortable situation. If seeing my niece and nephew is so important to me, I have to be willing to understand that I will be putting myself, set the expectation that I will be putting myself into the possibility of having a hard conversation with my brother. Does that make sense? Whereas if I go and be like, well, I'm going to go see my niece and nephew and it's going to be super great. It's going to be awesome. And then shit blows up, because it always does. Then it's even worse for me. Like, then it's stressful and it's like, what? That's not what I wanted. Well, it doesn't matter what you wanted. Trends have shown that every time you go to the farm, this kind of thing happens. So maybe next time you go to the farm, just say, this is what I'm going to do for me. This is how I'm going to show up. And if this should happen, here's how I will react. So setting appropriate expectations for yourself allows you to stay in control the whole time, allowing you to come up with contingency plans. Okay, knowing that my brother usually does this, how can I prepare myself emotionally, intellectually and physically to go there and exist and be with my niece and nephew, because that's important to me, to have that relationship. And then what do I have to do to maintain the control through that? Because if I don't, then what happens is I feel shitty. I will never want to go back there because of the fear that I have that will happen again. Emotionally, it hurts my heart. I'm stressed out the whole time I'm there, etc., etc. Does this make sense? Is this resonating? And I see it all the time with clients too, is that, like, for example, the client that just rescheduled, because it's happened enough times in the past, I'm not like, what? I was counting on that money. No, I don't set that expectation anymore. Like, I do not expect anything from anybody, because I can't, because I am not in control of anybody else. What I can set expectations for is how I will react should that situation happen, or set expectation for me to have a contingency plan in case that should happen. And then if that doesn't happen, great, that's a bonus, but ultimately I didn't set myself up for failure. And now, in terms of our personal self, and I see this all the time in terms of body image, is asking yourself, what expectations am I setting on my body? Remembering that your body doesn't know what Kim Kardashian's ass looks like. Your body doesn't care what certain boobs look like. Your body doesn't care what it looked like before it had a baby. Your body doesn't care. Your body is literally just a biological organism doing its job, doing its thing. It's like, cool, you need more fat on your body? Awesome, I'm going to give that to you because you're stressed out. Oh, you know what? On the other case, oh, you're stressed out, we're going to make you lose some weight. Okay, here you go, it's happening. Like, your body's just responding. You don't really, like, it doesn't know about that. So having the appropriate expectation on your body is super important. My body is in a mood today. Well, that's okay. So the reality is it is, right? This is where it's so important. And maybe that's one of my strengths, is that I'm very good at saying, like, stepping back and saying, like, okay, I may want this situation to be different, but the reality is this is what it is. How do I want to handle what it is? And you'll get much further along than trying to force it to be something that it isn't. Does that make sense? And I think that's really important. So Jessica Judge, if your body is in a mood today, just say that like you just did. Be like, you know what? My body's in a mood today, so it doesn't affect me, and so it doesn't control me. Here's what I'm going to do about that. I'm going to drink more water because that has been proven to help the mental aspect of body image. I am going to move my body because, you know what, it's been sitting for a little bit while I was editing. I'm going to nap today because it just needs a rest. I'm going to dress in a way that makes me feel comfortable more than anything else. Nothing else matters right now. Right? If you can see what the actual problem is, instead of what you wish it was, then you can come up with strategies to come up with resolutions. Does that make sense? Like, that's really important for me to hammer home to people, because you can want what you want, but it is what it is until you fix or figure out how to manage what it is. You will never, ever get far for long term. Does that make sense? We are on it. Good. That's good, Jessica. I love it. So, Now we're going to flip the script a little bit and how we can use this knowledge to help us be better for our clients. Think about a time where you maybe purchased something, or you went to a store and you were expecting a certain level of experience because on their website or what their store promised this. And as a plus size person, I can tell you, there are a lot of companies, like let's say Calvin Klein, they just came out with like plus size Calvin Klein stuff, right? And the largest they have right now is up to a 3X. Well, I usually wear a 2X to a 3X. And they like showcase fat bodies now. So I'm like, yes, they're super, like they're making wardrobe that will accommodate bigger bodies. I get my Calvin Kleins and they're not the most fitting, the best fitting article of clothing. So like they want to be inclusive, but ultimately they're not tailoring the wardrobe necessarily for larger bodies, if that makes sense. So it's really important to manage that. The other thing is, if you go to Airbnbs are a good example. If you've ever seen the pictures of an Airbnb on the website and you're like, oh my God, I want to book this. It's going to be awesome. And then you book it. And then you show up and maybe it's not quite what the picture showed. Maybe it's a little less than desirable. How does that make you feel? You feel like you can't trust them. It makes the experience that much worse because you expected something else, but the reality is different. And you just had all these hopes for what it was going to be. It makes you feel like shit. So now imagine your client. In your prep guide on your website, you say, we empower everybody. We love everybody. And then they come in for their photo shoot and they're like, oh my God, I would love to use your wardrobe. And you're like, well, actually, we only have stuff up to like a size 2X, but here's a big ass kimono you can wear for your 5X body. Womp. They will feel like shit. Or they come in and they're like, oh my God, I can't wait to have my hair and makeup done. And then they find out that your makeup artist can't do makeup on black skin. Womp. Because your message is one thing, what you're promising is one thing, but the reality is something else. All of a sudden, you have lost the credibility in the eyes of that client. Does that make sense? So I need you to think about, while you may want to be inclusive and you may want to do these things, unless you actually are, don't say that. Okay? Like, I can't stress that enough, because as a fat person, I can tell you, if I saw on your website, like, oh my God, we empower everybody, and I paid money to come see you, and then you look at me and you're like, I'm going to give you a half-assed experience because I don't know what to do with your body. If I had less confidence, I would feel like I was the problem, but I definitely wouldn't have a good experience. So I want you to kind of think about that. What are you putting out there, but what is the reality of what you're actually delivering? And here's the thing. There's nothing wrong with not doing those things, okay? That's why I think people think I'm a bad person if I don't do the X, Y, and Z. Or I will be seen as a bad person if I don't do that. No, you won't. You will just be seen as somebody that legitimately owns up to their shit. Or the case, like the Black Lives Matter thing is a perfect example. We have people saying like, we are diverse and we are against racism. And then on the other hand, they are racist as shit. Just own up to it. Just say that you are racist. Like, there's not, like, is that bad? Well, it's not super great, but at least you're honest. You know what I mean? Because then people can be like, okay, thank you for owning up to your shit. Now I know to avoid you because you're not going to change your mind. Does that make sense? Yeah, exactly. The hardest is finding a hairstylist for ethnic. Okay, so we're going to avoid the word ethnic hair. First of all. So, Stephanie, that would be just maybe something to consider. We're not going to use the word ethnic hair. No. You could say textured hair. You could say, textured hair is what I would say. Because even like hair like mine, not many people know what to do with this unless they know how to work with curls. You know what I'm saying? But we're going to avoid terms like ethnic hair because that is very othering and not helpful. Textured hair is probably better. And so my recommendation to that is, if you are having a hard time finding a hairstylist, go to your local hair schools, colleges, and say, listen, this is what I'm looking for. Go to different places around your city that specialize in textured hair. Like, take the extra step to look harder instead of the places that we always look. Does that make sense? Have someone on call that you're like, oh my God, I want to make this experience amazing for them. This is the makeup artist. This is the hairstylist that we need to make that happen. Cool. You know? They exist. These people exist out there. So it's important that we do the work to find them. All right? So yeah, so I want you to think about, so this is my challenge to you, is to go through your website, your prep guide. Prep guide's a good one too. We set a lot of expectations on what they can expect for their photo shoot. Set the expectations with them. What exactly can they expect when they come in for their photos? Are you going to take care of hair and makeup? Where should they park? Every little stressor that you can alleviate, you are making it easier for them to say yes to you. Take care of the problems they don't even know that they have yet. So if you do consultations, one of my favorite things to say is like, standardly, many clients have questions about posing. Most of my clients tend to have questions about pricing. Most of my clients tend to have questions about how this goes down, and then I go into how I will facilitate that particular thing. Does that make sense? So I want you to consider, like, am I doing that? Or are you not being super confident in your pricing? So when they come in and you kind of skirt around the pricing thing, and then they come in for the reveal and they're like, I didn't realize this. And then you're upset because you're like, what? Why didn't they pay me the money that I was owed? And It's like, but did you tell them exactly what they could expect to pay? Like, did you outrightly say, listen, this is how much it's going to cost you on average to photograph with me? Or were you like, I don't know, I mean, it's like a session fee's like $99, and I'm like, well, maybe you could just $900 for an album. Or is that you? And if that's the case, then they didn't hear you. You literally, the only person you can control is yourself. And if you're getting frustrated, like I am with a client that rescheduled, that's my fault. I should have better policies in place to not let them reschedule that far in advance or that many times. That's my fault. I own and acknowledge that, oh fuck, I need to go into Acuity and set it up so that way people can't reschedule after one reschedule. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? I hate talking cost. Megan, here's the thing, and I always say this because I was you, and I still am, to be honest. I don't like talking about it, but trust me, if you're uncomfortable talking about it before they come in for their photo shoot, when you get to that reveal, it's 1,000 times more uncomfortable to talk about pricing. And it's squidgy, and I'm just thinking about it, my stomach's like, I don't like that. So if you can get over your squidginess at the beginning, and they'll say, oh, whoa, that's a lot of money for me, at least you know before you've done the work. Does that make sense? That's where expectations are important for me, and why I'm very big on setting appropriate expectations, because I want you to know exactly what you're getting into. And if at any point you feel that does not sit right with you, whether it be pricing, how I pose, how I direct, how I dress you, how I shoot, the times at which I shoot, the days at which I shoot, etc., if that does not sit right with you as a client, then you are not my client. So I need to let you know ahead of time before we get into it. And it's really hard because for many of us, we're not used to saying basically expectations are boundaries. But we talk about them as expectations, not boundaries. But as I was writing my post out today and I only had a certain amount of characters, I was like, oh, this could be a whole thing. But expectations are boundaries. The expectations you set about yourself. Saying, this is what I shoot, this is how I do it, and it doesn't matter how you do the things, as long as you're honest about it, that empowers your client to make the decision about whether or not you are a perfect fit for them. Or allows you the opportunity to say, hey, you know what, based on what you've told me that you are interested in, I may not be the best photographer for you. And then have a list of referrals that you can send them to. Because then everyone's happy. You don't have to do something you didn't want to do, and they get the photo shoot that they dreamed of. You know what I mean? It's nothing personal. I think when we start establishing boundaries and we start managing expectations much better, like for ourselves, it makes it less personal. It's just like, oh, okay, that's not what you were expecting. That's totally fine. But if we don't set that, we don't know what people are expecting. We just always assume that people expect the same things we do. But that's not the case. Ask in your group, what do you think boudoir is? You're going to get 5,000 different answers. Right? Because that is their perception. That is their experience. That is what they know it to be. So that's why questionnaires are really important. So you can figure out, what are your expectations of working with me? Like, what level of makeup are you looking for? What level of retouching are you looking for? Here are my rules around retouching. Does that sit okay with you? Here are some images that I photographed. Which ones draw your attention the most? So again, I'm not wasting my time photographing something that I might enjoy, but it's a business at the end of the day, knowing that they're not even going to purchase them. You know what I mean? So I want you to just consider all those things. The more you can alleviate your client's stress by answering the questions they don't even know that they have, the easier it's going to be for them to say yes to hiring you, or say, oh, thank you so much for letting me know you're not the right photographer for me, but they're sure as shit going to refer you because you were honest. The worst thing is not setting the appropriate expectations and them coming in and having a shitty experience, because it's basically trust goes out the window when you don't follow through on what was promised. Trust is gone, relationship shattered. But if you follow through on those, then trust is established, and and that's super important for what we do, especially for the genre that we shoot. Does this make sense? Am I making sense? I recently did a small wedding after I saw her. Oh, Tara, they'll keep coming if you don't say no. And I thought, oh, it's a little bit. It wasn't. It was a church wedding. Yes, exactly. And you know what? I'm the same as you, Tara. I said the same thing with branding sessions. I'm like, okay, I'm not doing branding sessions. Then somebody would come along and they're like, please. And you're like, well, no, I really don't. I can suggest people. They're like, yeah, but I love the way you shoot. And you're like, okay, my ego kind of likes that. So, okay, yeah, I'll say yes. And then the whole time you're like, fuck, why did I say yes? And sometimes it takes you 5 times before you will be like, no, no more. If you're me, it takes a while for it to get in there, and that's okay. Sometimes you just are like, nope, I refuse to believe it. But you will be better off stress-wise if you just approach everything with logistics and expectations, I think. Even my husband, when we started dating, if you don't know this story, on our first date, I literally was like, listen, here's what you can expect from me. I don't want kids ever. At the time, I didn't want to get married. But then I fell in love with him and was like, actually. But even now, I actually wouldn't want to get married. And then also, what was it? Oh, and I'm like, and if you smoke, we're not going to do this because I don't want to date somebody that smokes. Boom, expectations up front. I was like, no harm, no foul. We'll just have a great dinner, be friends going forward if you want any of that stuff. But I know I'm not going to change you and you're not going to change me. So why the fuck are we going to fight about it for the next 4 years? Yes, boundaries are hard. Oh, they're so hard. Boundaries are so hard. But the best thing I ever did was when I went to therapy, and she was like, what are you afraid of if you say no? Or if you say something because my thing is always people pleasing. So when it comes to price. When I did a course that's coming out actually for whatchamacallit, the Milky Way Academy. Well, I think it's called something, the Art and Soul Academy. Anyways, on confidence, and it talks exactly about this. So, Megan, I want you to ask yourself, why did you say yes? And be honest about it. What was it? Why did you say yes? I'll wait. I'm waiting. That's why I like talking. I'll feel guilty if I don't. Okay, why would you feel guilty? This would be easier if you're here. Megan, are you on your phone? Do you want to come on live? Okay, it's a friend of a friend. Okay, and what if you said no to that friend of a friend? Then what? What in your mind would happen if you said no? Oh, okay, perfect. So I think you can request to be in here. If you're on your phone, you can request to be on here. This is why I'm like, I can't, like, comments are so hard. I just would like to have conversations with people all the time. Can we just make it so we just all, like, live together and then we just have conversations all the time and somehow we all make the money that we need to live a life? Is that a thing? A commune, I think they call those. Let's see. I don't see a thing on your thing saying that you can come in. I don't know why. Oh, that's okay. Don't worry about it. So let's keep going down this track then. It'll just be a little quiet in between. That's okay. So it's a friend of a friend, and why do you feel guilty about saying no to that friend? Oh. Hey. Yeah, that's fine. Hi.
There you are. I figured it out.
Yeah, great. Oh, do you have headphones?
I don't. Is it echoing?
Yeah. Oh, I can't hear you. Oh, that's okay. Hold on. Okay, we won't do it right now just because of that the green person next to emoji. There's a green person. So yeah. So okay, going forward, anybody, if you want to come on live, you just need headphones because there's feedback that happens. But that's okay, Megan. We'll do it over chat. Well, I'll talk and you can chat if that's okay with you. So so the question that I asked before you popped on there was, what are you afraid of if you said no to your friend? No, that's okay. Don't worry. Da, 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 da. It's a thinking one. Get it? Get it? I want you to get there on your own, so that's why I'm not answering. But if you say no to your friend, what are you afraid will happen? Are you afraid that she won't like you anymore? that she might be mad? Megan, come back. I want to help you. Okay, well, I'll tell you the story that happened to me because I don't want to sit in silence, but it may resonate. So when I went to therapy and I was telling the therapist, I was like, well, I feel like I always am, I will say yes to my sister all the time. Like I'm always the good girl. That was the thing, is I grew up being the good girl. So I always say yes, because if I'm not, then I'm not a good girl. But so with my sister, I would always say yes. Terry, I need you to babysit. Yeah, okay, I can do it. And I always had a hard time saying no, because to my mind I was like, well, because she needs me. And then my therapist was like, well, what if you said no? And I had never even considered that because it was too scary. Because I was like, well, maybe if I say no, maybe she won't love me or like me anymore. And she's like, is that true? Like if she is as good of a sister and as good of a friend, do you think that's actually true, that she won't like you? I was like, well, no, I don't really have proof to say otherwise. And she's like, so it's made up. Yes. And it made me realize that, like, and so I did. I started saying no, because the thing was I was saying yes so much that I would be bitter about her asking me all the time. Why wouldn't she ask me all the time? I was saying yes all the time. Why would she change her behavior if I wasn't changing mine? The only way we can get people to either get on board or not is to say, what do I need from this situation? If I'm free, yeah, you know what, I'm willing to help out sometimes. But if it's like, if I have things to do or I just don't feel like it, or I don't have the energy to deal with the like children, no, I can say no, and she's not going to disown me as her sister. She might be mad for the moment, but she's not mad at me because I'm allowed to say no. She's mad that she now has to go find somebody else. It's an inconvenience to her. And one of the best quotes I ever heard that helps me to this day is, just because you said no and they got angry doesn't mean you should have said yes. And if anything, if they get angry and and leave you and are not your friend anymore, they're not a friend to begin with. Because true friends and family will respect those boundaries. And if they don't, they have no place in your life. End of story. And that really helped me realize that I wasn't saying yes to her for her. I was saying yes to her for me. Because the trade-off to me saying yes, in my mind, was that I would get love from her, my sister. In my mind, I felt that she wouldn't love me. Why would she love me if I didn't do things for her? And this goes back to me as a child, right? Not feeling loved, not for no other reason than I was fat and didn't feel, and that made me feel unworthy as a child. And I'm sure there's a bunch of other things, but essentially I didn't feel that I was worthy of love, and I was taught myself that the only way that people will want to be around you is if you do things for them. Does that make sense? And as a result of that, I turned into a people-pleasing adult. And as a result of that, I said yes to everything, and I burned out. And I became bitter at the people that I wanted to love me, because they just kept asking, because why wouldn't they? They don't have to change because I'm not changing. They don't change until I say, like, I decide, right? You decide what you need for you. So once I started saying no, my relationship with my sister actually improved tenfold because I had the energy and I didn't feel like she was using me, even though I was the one putting myself in that position. And the other thing that happened is I noticed it transferred over to my business, where I would say yes to branding sessions that I definitely didn't want, but my ego loved when people would tell me how much they love my work. Or when a client would be sitting there and I felt uncomfortable about silence, so I'd be like, you know what, I'm going to give you some extra photos so then maybe you'll like me more. I wouldn't say that last part, but essentially me giving them extra photos was me saying, please don't hate me for my pricing. Please don't hate me for who I am. That's essentially what I was saying. That makes me want to cry when I say it out loud. But it is that. It's that we don't think, when we people please, it's that we don't think we're enough just as we are. And I had this talk with my friend, my best friend, who's like, oh, what was she saying? She's like, I can't remember what she was asking me about having people over and something like that. And she's like, well, I can't have people over because I don't have the snacks right now and stuff like that. And I was like, people don't come to your house for your fucking snacks. Like, people come to your house for you because you're amazing to be around. And she broke down in tears. I was like, because we all have these feelings that unless we, especially women, unless we offer something more than just ourselves, who would want to be with us? And that's a hard fucking truth to swallow once we realize that that is why it is. So, what do we do about it? You start by saying, no to things, to people that you love and trust. So it started with me saying no to going out to things I didn't want to do. I'm like, you know what? No, that doesn't really resonate with me. You start by saying no to your family that maybe it feels like they're taking advantage of you because you're saying yes. Ultimately, you're doing it to yourself, just an FYI. It's not their fault. Again, they're just saying, hey, I know she's always available, so why wouldn't I ask her? That's silly, right? And you will receive resistance because for a long time, it's like a toddler. You've been giving them something for a long time, and now you're taking it away. So you will receive resistance, but if they're truly your friend or family or loyal to you as a business owner, then they'll be there. They won't go away because they love you for who you are. Just like you as you as you, not your snacks, not because you're free shit, not because of your not because you say yes to shooting a maternity session. Thank you, Nancy. Yeah, this is a big one. When I was doing the research and thinking through things on confidence and things like that, I realized that a lot of it has to do with us just not feeling like we're worth things. And it's really hard when you acknowledge it. Like, I'm literally on the verge of tears talking about it because I know I'm not alone in this, and I know it's more, especially empathetic people, because there are people in the world that tend to prey on that, and those people are terrible. But those people are few and far between. The people that we think that we become bitter at or are taking advantage of, or we feel taken advantage by, most of them are not those people. Most of them are just like, cool, she said yes, so I'm going to keep doing that. Yes, but now I have to work. Yeah, so you know what? And that's how I feel too when I agree to something and I'm like, fuck, I shouldn't have done that. I'm like, no, I committed, so I'll do it. But note this in my brain, how this feels right now. So that way the next time this comes up, my red flag will be even higher. So it'll be like, don't do it, just don't say it. And have things around your house. Like I said, over my desk at the studio, I have a sign that says, is it good for the business or good for the ego? You need to have things that stop you from your default behaviors of saying yes to everything. Another thing is I used to say yes to all these teaching opportunities because it's out of a scarcity mindset for me. Like, oh, what if they go away? What if they will never pick me again if I say no to this particular activity? Jill and I were just talking about it. Brene Brown talks about this in her Surviving the Wilderness book. If I say no, maybe I will miss out on opportunities, right? FOMO and all that stuff. And what actually ends up happening is you end up curating your life to be happier for you. You may not be doing all the things that you think you should be doing or hanging out with the people that you think you should be with, but you will be exactly where you need to be. So my recommendation is, number one, just acknowledge why, like go down that rabbit trail of asking yourself, if I say no, what am I afraid of? And once you acknowledge that, it's okay that they may not like me. Okay, is that true? If not, then keep moving. You know, and just become, the more you say no, the more confident you become saying no. I can promise you that. The more confident you can become setting your boundaries, even with something as simple as days of the week that you shoot. This is something I teach a lot of photographers in coaching, is if you don't set days of the week and times because you're afraid that clients are going to say no, that's fucking wrong. Think about when you go to your doctor's office. They're not like, well, what works for you? No, they're like, here's what we have available. The end. So for me, because I can't say that to people because I have a hard time. Like if I have to go back and forth, I will cave. I know I will cave. I set things up in Acuity and say, here, you can book your session through here. Boom, done. I don't have to deal. They can see the dates, they can see the times, and there's no back and forth. Best thing I ever did. Does that make sense? Because then I decide. I set the expectation of when you can see me, what time you can see me, how much it's going to cost to see me, and there's no arguments. There's no back and forth. There's no preying on my weakness, which is my big heart. That's not a weakness, it's a strength. There's none of that allowed because I have put strategies in place to ensure of that. This is also why I'm the type of person that puts my pricing on my website. And I know so many people say don't do that. So you can know like what is your conversion and what is all this stuff. Acuity, Miranda. Acuity scheduling. ACUITY. I was gonna say this is why. What was I saying? Shit. What was I saying? Oh, it was a good thought. Damn it. A fleeting thought. Oh, before Acuity, like I said the scheduling and then I was saying a thing and then I came back to Acuity. That's why I forgot it. Oh, tits. I don't remember specifically. Oh, no, pricing on my page. This is why I put all of my pricing, is you can get to the pricing on my website. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Is to get to the pricing on my website because I just want people to know exactly what they're in for. Like, I don't need to know that you thought I was too expensive. I don't need to have that conversation with people, to be honest. I'm not in that business to convince people that they need my services. I have all the information on my website, like of exactly what my website is, what is included in a session, like literally everything that they need to know about doing a session with me. And if they still message on like, what's your pricing, then they didn't read that information, right? So for me, I've made it very clear, like, here's exactly what you get with me. There's videos, there's photos, there's the experience. Here's how much it costs. The end. Book your consultation if you want to talk some more. Like, none of this back and forth. This is what it is. The end. And I know there's a lot of people that are like, no, don't do that. That'll scare them off. Good. Let it scare them off. I don't want to have to go back and forth. That's a waste of my energy and my time. And I'm not in this, to like, just like, I don't know. I think there's a few different ways to run a business. And the way that most people like to run, like, and they make a shit ton of money. So if that's important, then like maybe go do that thing. But for me, this is how I have to do it to appease my big heart, if that makes sense. I don't like telling others, no, girl, you and I will work on this. Sending you a PM, yes. Let's do it. So yeah, so I think that's enough. Maybe talk about expectations and boundaries, but consider that setting expectations. Are you setting boundaries? So maybe that will make it easier for you to do that. Does that sound good? Does anybody have any questions about this topic? It's a big one. I honestly didn't think we would get to here, but this is how talks go, right? As we start here and then we're like, whoop. It's all about not feeling worthy. Be-doo. So this is me telling you, I'll finish off with this. This is me telling you that you are worthy just as you are. You don't have to offer anything extra for people to love you. You don't have to give anything else for people to love you. You are worthy of respect and love and value, and you do not. I find it is mostly people that, oh, this is for another topic another day. Maybe I'll save that. Okay, so just know that you are worth everything as you are. Okay? No addendums. Just that. Just by being here. Just by existing. People would be, what's the word? Privileged to get to sit with you. Just to have that opportunity because you're an amazing, fantastic human being. Okay? Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to go. I've got a bunch of calls to do today, some editing to catch up on and all that good stuff. I will share the photos that we did yesterday at the beach for you. They're very different than what I normally shoot, but it was a lot of fun just to kind of dick around, despite that asshole hanging around. But I hope you have an amazing day. And remember that you are enough as you are. All right. Love you. Bye.